Sitting here editing this video, and I just feel like this really needs to be cut down into smaller chunks. So I originally filmed this as one long video, but I'm just thinking that it would better serve everybody if I cut it into smaller pieces. So without further ado, here is my meditation story. Let me share with you my meditation story, what got me started, and why do I say that it so radically changed my life. We're going to rewind the clock back to 2015, so 4 years ago. At that time, I was dealing with multiple chronic illnesses. I had been living with lupus for 23 or 24 years at that point. I was on chemo for that once a month. I was on a ton of steroids. Because of the steroids, I was at my highest weight. I was terribly bloated from those. I had osteoporosis. I had already had 3 fractures before the age of 40, which is a pretty big deal. I was also dealing with fibromyalgia and asthma. I had horrible, debilitating migraines, and the aura of those migraines was stroke symptoms. And my dad had died at an early age due to complications of a stroke in his early 50s. So to start having stroke symptoms kind of freaked me out just a little bit. Anytime I got a migraine, I would get stroke symptoms, which was scary. And I had to be on all kinds of heavy-hitting neurologic medications for some of that stuff. I was dealing with congestive heart failure, really bad, and chronic recurrent pericarditis, which all of this stuff was secondary to my lupus for the most part, but it was extremely out of control. I had a brand new thyroid issue that had come out of nowhere, and they had put me on Synthroid. My cholesterol was high. I just wasn't feeling good. I felt like crap all the time. On top of that, I was tired and didn't feel good, and so I was cranky. And even a step above that, though, the real issue is that I was dealing with PTSD really bad because I had been in an abusive marriage. I had, a lot going on, and I was left with a pretty bad case of PTSD. And if you've ever dealt with PTSD, or if you've ever dealt with someone you love having PTSD, you know that it's pretty all-encompassing. It affected every area of my life. I had extreme insomnia, and so I took Ambien every single night of my life for years and years and years and years and years, decades. Because when I did eventually fall asleep without Ambien, if I fell asleep ever, the nightmares would just be horrible. So I wanted to be put to sleep. I want to remember my dreams, and the Ambien did that for me. Okay, so that was what my life looked like in a nutshell. Wasn't a happy camper, emotionally, spiritually, or physically. When I first learned about my spirit guides, and if you want to know more about that and what that means, please leave me a comment below and let me know. I'd be happy to make a video about that because I think it's important. So when I first started learning about my guides and learning that I had spiritual gifts and whatnot, I used to like to ask my guides, if this was the one and only time you ever got to talk to me again where I could hear you, what advice would you want to give me today? One of the very first times I ever did this, their response was, pray more, sleep more, drink more water, and meditate. Well, I had never even seriously thought about meditating. Of course, I'd heard of it, but I had never thought about doing it, and I had no idea what to do. And I was like, really? Really? And they're like, yes, really. I had said, and sleep more? I sleep a lot. And they're like, yes, but it doesn't count when you're on Ambien. You're not getting the quality of sleep, and I know that they bothered you, but you need your dreams to help you work through all of that garbage. And frankly, you've been too stoned to do any good. And I'm like, you could tell I'm stoned on Ambien even in my dreams? And they're like, absolutely. Because your guides are in charge of your dreams, if you didn't know that tidbit. Because you have free will, they will never force anything on you, of course, and they won't tell you what to do. But they did say, would you be willing to consider stopping the Ambien and beginning meditation. At first, I was so affronted with that information. I was almost offended. I was like, absolutely not. The day will never come when I will stop this Ambien. Absolutely not. I was almost offended that they would even ask me, because this is supposed to be my spiritual team that knows me more than anybody, and they're asking me to stop the Ambien. Are they tripping? But they said, please just trust us. We agree not to give you the heavy-hitting nightmares anymore. We think you've made enough progress that you really don't need them at this time. Please trust us. If you stop the Ambien and you begin meditation, it's going to change your life in more ways than you can imagine. You're going to be healthier, and we promise you you're going to sleep well. So I did. I trusted them. They had already proven themselves to me enough by that point that I trusted them. And so I did. That day, I wish I had marked on the calendar, because it was that day my life changed. That day I never took another Ambien again, and I Googled, how do I meditate? And I just went from there. And I found some videos on YouTube that just looked like as good of a place as any to start. And I started meditating. And I will, of course, link them here, like I said, and I will put them all on the blog. So that day I started meditating. I've never looked back. I've never not meditated since then. And my life has changed so much. Not only is my PTSD virtually gone, but my health has so drastically improved. Within a few months, I was no longer on the chemo. My lupus was in remission for the first time ever. And my prednisone, my steroids, they were able to wean me down from 60 a day to 40, and then slowly down to 30, and then 20, and then 10. And now, 4 years later, I'm on 1 milligram Monday, Wednesday, Friday, which is essentially nothing. And I was given permission to even try to wean down off of that. I just haven't done it yet, because when you've been on it for so many years, it's tricky getting all the way off. And they can't guarantee me that I ever can get all the way off, because my adrenal glands just might not function optimally anymore. But I'm allowed to try, which is huge. My thyroid problem that I had, gone. My osteoporosis, gone. How does that happen? I was diagnosed with osteoporosis 2011, and I had to have yearly bone scans after that to see how it was going. And I had had 3 fractures. The first one was in 2011, and then I had another one in the middle, and then I had another one in 2015. So all of those years I was having bone scans. And I'm on Boniva every month and all of this stuff. Then in 2016, I get a bone scan. I had been meditating for about a year, and they said, your bones look pretty good. And they downgraded me from osteoporosis to osteopenia, which means borderline, like, looks like there's some trouble, but you're not there yet. They downgraded me to osteopenia. And then I just went last week on Friday for a bone scan. And she's like, who in the world ever told you that you had an issue with your bones? Because there's nothing. Your bones are completely healthy. So there's that. But anybody that knows me then, knows me now, they're all like, you're so different. And I don't think I'm different. I just feel like my insides match my outsides. Like, I always loved people and wanted peace and inclusion and tolerance and love. Love was always the only thing that mattered. But I was so tired and sick and fed up and stressed out and full of anxiety and blah, 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 that I had trouble getting that to translate. And now my life is just sweet and peaceful and beautiful. And it shows. My insides match my outsides. I sleep like a baby every night. I've never needed the Ambien again. My health is wonderful. My cholesterol's normal. No issues with my thyroid. No issues with my bones. My lupus is in remission. My asthma's in remission. My migraines are gone. I think I may have had one in a handful of years now, and it was pretty mild. My congestive heart failure resolved. My last couple echoes completely normal. My pericarditis, I do still take the medication because I'm leery. That's my choice. But I used to have a flare-up of this pericarditis a minimum of 3 to 4 times a year. Typically, as soon as I got one flare under control, here would come another one. And now I've had maybe one in the last 2 or 3 years. And it was mild. So, for all intents and purposes, I'm awesome. And there's nothing anyone will ever say or do to convince me that meditation did not play the number one role. God used meditation to change my body's chemistry, to heal things that needed healed. Yeah. So I can't guarantee that all of your health issues will resolve. Don't even try to come to me and say, you promised. I will promise you that something will get better, even if it's just your mood. You may have massive healing effects like I did. You may have emotional healing effects like I did. You may just find yourself being slightly more patient and kind and less full of road rage. Who knows? But I guarantee, I know that I know that I know that I know your life will get better if you start meditating on a consistent basis. And you will not convince me otherwise. So what are you waiting for? Go change your life. This stuff is powerful, man. Dive in. You'll never, ever regret that you did. I hope that this taught you something. I hope that you learned something from this. I hope my story inspired you to go change your life. It's really that simple. Just start meditating. That's all it takes. Leave me a comment below and let me know your thoughts on this. Do you think there's anything to it? Do you think it's all just woo-woo? Do you have your own experience with meditation? Have you had any of your own healing? Have you seen that you're just not as much of a jerk anymore? Or what is your experience with this? If you want even more information, head over to the blog. I go into a little bit more depth over there. If you start meditating and you notice some effects, come back and leave me that too. Feel free to send me a message. I look forward to hearing from you, and I'm so excited to be going on this journey with you. Until next time.